Well, our next guest runs with the big boys on Wall Street. In fact, more often than not, she outruns them. Karen Finerman is president and co-founder of Metropolitan Capital Advisors, a New York-based investment management firm, and she's here to talk markets and also about her latest book, Finerman's Rules: Secrets I'd Only Tell My Daughters About Business and Life. She is the mother of 2 sets of twins, by the way. But first, let me ask you, what is the market telling you in recent days?
Oh, you know what? I don't love what the market's telling me, actually, in recent days. We had gotten to a period where we had some non-correlation, where things traded on their fundamental values. Each stock's particular story was what moved it. And now when you have these macro events, it's been quiet on the macro front for a while, but now you have these macro events, particularly, is the Fed going to taper soon? And Japan, which for one of the world's largest economies, that market seems to be somewhat out of control. That sort of volatility, we don't see that normally in a market that is as developed as Japan. So I don't like seeing those two big macro things on the horizon, because then you start to get into this, everything's correlated to one. And what we're value investors, that's very hard when everything correlates to one.
So let's go from macro to micro. Where do you see more risk, in the stock market or the bond market? And what should investors do? This is a very confusing time for most individual investors.
It is. I mean, to me, the bond market seems particularly scary to me. I feel like you can find value with dividends, if that's your interest, no pun intended, value with dividends in the market. But this bond market, that to me, I think Jim Grant once referred to it as return-free risk. And that's not for me.
Right.
And bonds today at 14 months highs on the 10-year, in the 220, 225 area on the yield. So I wonder where you would peg bond yields at the end of the year. How much higher do they go?
I don't know. I hope they're actually higher, because I think that would be coincident with the market, with the economy improving. But just today I had a conversation with a REIT CEO who said, I can't believe we got a financing done at 3 3/4. I can't believe that's what we paid. And so that would make me not want to be on the other side of that trade.
Let's turn and talk to you about your book that you've just come out with. I find that the women I come across these days that are just coming out of college or just entering the workforce are much more open and upbeat about all the opportunities that await them, and it's very refreshing. So I'm just wondering, what would be your advice to this new generation of women?
I think for me, what I was trying to give advice was about staying out of your own way, or getting out of your own way. And I think sometimes women aren't their best advocate, and they need to be. They are in charge now. No one else is in charge. You've gone through your life through college, maybe with a plan and a roadmap, and there's no clear roadmap anymore. So they have to be in charge. They have to speak up for themselves. They have to take some risks and
that's true
challenges.
For any woman at any stage, and any man,
any person. But I think women sometimes are being risk averse. I think also makes them hold back somewhat in their careers.
Let's put a little word association. Sheryl Sandberg.
Powerful.
Lean in?
Lean in. Almost all of the book I completely agree with. Particularly, it's interesting to me when she talks about, as women get higher up the corporate ladder, they're seen as less likable.
Paul Tudor Jones, trader, who said women couldn't really be the equal of men as traders in a certain narrow context.
Candid. I would say misguided.
Let's talk about when you think there will be a female CEO of one of the major money center banks, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citi.
I would have thought when I started on Wall Street almost 25 years ago, we would have seen it. I think we are a decade away, at least.
Why is that?
Really?
Real quickly, why?
I think that they're not building up the ranks quickly enough. The math isn't there. There's not enough. The bench isn't deep enough yet.
Women have to lean in more.
Yes,
on Wall Street.
Karen Finerman. Finerman's Rules: Secrets I'd Only Tell My Daughters About Business and Life. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Great always to see you.